This is the 7th episode of Poke A Mon, where real science meets the Pokemon universe. I'm Chuka Obodo, but you can call me Professor Baobab. My expertise is in science communication. You can sign up to my weekly newsletter below to get access to our free ebook that connects your favorite Pokemon to real-world science. Disclaimer: this podcast is in no way affiliated with the Pokemon Company, Game Freak, or Nintendo. I am using Pokemon as a pedagogical tool as it pertains to tangential learning. In other words, I tell stories using Pokemon to capture the attention of those interested in Pokemon while remaining integral to the presentation of scientific knowledge. Today, we'll be talking about hygiene. I'll begin by introducing germ theory, which was the theory of the origin and manifestation of disease in the 19th century. I will also be using the Pokemon Grimer as an extended metaphor for disease, the spread of disease, and the origin of disease. Then I will talk about how to combat disease and disease-causing germs. I will finish with a practical guide on how you can personally decrease your risk of disease, but also improve your overall health. Leopold Brandeis wrote in an article in 1873, "Disease and grim death stalk through our fine dwelling houses, disease and grim death of our own making. When we are soundly asleep, cradled in fancied security, the impalpable, subtle enemy, malaria, arises from the outlets of the very utensils, water closets and sinks, introduced for the preservation of our health, for the prolongation of our lives, fanning us into deeper slumbers like the wings of the vampire." Malaria was commonly referred to as sewer gas, which immediately brings us to Grimer. Grimer is a Pokemon that loves sewers. In fact, they love anything filthy. Grimer themselves are so filthy and laden with germs that nothing will ever grow again wherever it leaves its trail. The kinds of germs that lead to disease, decay, and death are called pathogens and include bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Grimer's toxic sludge would also be the perfect breeding ground for the multiplication of these deadly pathogens. If you think of a compost heap, the germs generate heat when they get to work, and that heat makes them work harder. While the pathogens multiply, they begin to spread out and infect nearby plant matter, etc. These invisible invaders are responsible for spreading diseases like cholera, typhoid, and diphtheria that devastated the lives of people in the past and even now, especially in the developing world where levels of hygiene are comparable to 19th century Europe. In the 19th century, before people fully understood germs, these diseases were blamed on sewer gas, a poisonous vapor believed to rise from decaying waste. Grimer embodies the very essence of this danger as it eats literal garbage and pollutes anything it touches. When a Grimer moves through an area, its sludge contaminates everything. This is not unlike the way poor sanitation allowed waterborne diseases to ravage communities. Grimer is like contaminated water that spreads diseases wherever it goes. Waste from homes and animals often seeped into drinking water supplies. Such waste gave rise to deadly diseases such as cholera that continue to plague African communities that consume water directly from streams and rivers to this day. Recognizing the danger, people who studied the latest hygiene science of the 19th century developed ways to counteract this filth. They created sealed plumbing systems and water traps to stop the spread of sewer gases into homes. To prevent contamination, 19th century sanitarians, as they were called, advocated for regular cleaning, boiling water, and disinfecting surfaces. If a trainer lived with a Grimer, They would probably have to do this 24/7 and ensure it was kept in its Pokeball at all times. This is how the people of Alola essentially fought back to keep Grimer's sludge out of everyday life, causing them to nearly go extinct. In short, pollution begets more pollution and dangerous diseases, so a major step to keep cities safe is to keep them clean. I've talked about Grimer and pathogens and the connection between pathogens and waste, but where did pathogens and Grimer come from in the first place? We're going to overlook the place where it says Grimer evolved from X-rays from the moon for this friendly discussion. Pathogens, harmful microorganisms which include bacteria, viruses, and fungi, are natural parts of the world, adapting in response to their environments. They exist all the time, all around us. Some can be harmless, some are beneficial, such as most of the bacteria in our gut, but others become dangerous under specific circumstances. Disease-causing bacteria, for example, often thrive in the same environments that Grimer loves: stagnant water, decaying organic material, and areas rich in waste. These microorganisms multiply, feeding on the nutrients provided by decomposition and pollution. This is not to say that Grimer does not also contain beneficial bacteria and the like. Good bacteria do not fight off bad bacteria, and bad bacteria do not kill off good bacteria. Rather, they are organisms competing for resources like any other organism. In fact, Grimer is made of mostly good bacteria. Good for Grimer. We know this because Pokemon Ultra Moon's Pokedex entry for Cantonian Grimer demonstrates that the population of Grimer dwindles when the population of disease-causing pathogens decreases. This also explains why there is no war between good and bad bacteria. Bacteria are simply bacteria. There are just different strains of bacteria adapted to behave in different ways. This is the same with any pathogen. For example, there are fungi that we eat in the form of yogurt, but there are fungi that can harm us in the form of mold. Viruses are somewhat more complex as they are not even life forms in the same way as fungi and bacteria. Another interesting point is that filth doesn't just invite pathogens, but transforms the ecosystem. When waste builds up, it changes the chemical composition of water and soil, reducing oxygen levels and creating anaerobic conditions where harmful microorganisms like Clostridium botulinum thrive. Did you know that one drop of the poisonous secretions of Clostridium botulinum can kill 7 million humans? Just one drop. No wonder Grimer sludge makes it practically impossible for anything to ever grow in its path again without intervention. A poison is anything that is produced by an organism to kill, weaken, or repel a different organism. It is similar to, but not equivalent to, venom. In general, though, a poison is any chemical that is dangerous to the health of an organism. Many poisons are incidentally useful for making things such as bleach and solvents. Speaking of bleach, let's turn our attention to measures to combat disease, starting with chemical disinfectants. Substances specifically designed to neutralize harmful microorganisms and toxins. In real life, these chemicals are used to fight pathogens in both small and large-scale cleanups. Chemical disinfectants destroy pathogens by breaking down their cell walls or disrupting their internal functions. Just as these substances can eliminate germs from a contaminated surface, they could theoretically neutralize Grimer's toxic sludge. This is similar to how public health officials in the 19th century used disinfectants like bleach and carbolic acid to combat the spread of contagious diseases that were collectively referred to as zymotic diseases. However, disinfection alone isn't enough. After the immediate danger is dealt with, the ecosystem must be repaired. In areas damaged by grime sludge, oxygen levels will need to be replenished. This is because pathogens, just like any other life form, evolved to require oxygen to survive. Real-world methods include aerating water bodies or adding oxygen-rich chemicals to restore the balance. These techniques mimic nature's own processes, like the way rivers purify themselves over time through the movement of water. As a side note, this is why even just stagnant water can be dead, even if the water is relatively clean. Soil damaged by grime would require similar care. Removing sludge, adding organic matter, and reintroducing healthy bacteria and fungi could gradually make the ground fertile again. Healthy, in this case, refers to those bacteria and fungi that were in the soil before and adapted to contribute to the fertility of the soil. Careful, this isn't because those microorganisms want to help the soil. It just so happens that they live more successfully when they happen to contribute positively to the welfare of the soil. We now have effective household products such as Dettol that claim to kill 99.9% of bacteria. In fact, almost every household disinfectant, hand wash, hand sanitizer, and even soaps will claim this. There are three things to be aware of regarding this statement. The first is that these chemicals have been shown to work well against bacteria. So if you have a viral infection, cleaning any part of your body or any clothes you wear with any of these products may not effectively kill the viruses on your body or the clothes. However, as I will soon mention, viruses do not survive well in the absence of living cells. Moreover, and this is critical, you don't want to rely heavily on disinfectants, as they can also kill the bacteria that is beneficial to a healthy life. You might be surprised to learn that our bodies are actually mostly made of bacteria. Yes, there are more bacterial cells in our body, the vast majority of which are obviously very good and health promoting, than body cells. The second thing is that 99% is not as impressive as you think. Normally in adverts, pathogens will be shown as these green smears coating every surface. And when a household disinfectant is used on these surfaces, there is just one green smear left in a random location somewhere. What instead happens is that the disinfectant reduces the number of bacteria from billions, let's say, to just a few thousand, but they will still be scattered everywhere. This reduction may sound impressive, but it's important to realize that even a small number of bacteria can multiply quickly under the right conditions. So while the claim of killing most of the bacteria may be scientifically accurate, it doesn't necessarily mean the surface is entirely safe. For Grimer's tail, for instance, where pathogens could be in astronomical numbers, this reduction might still leave behind a dangerous amount of contamination. The reason disinfectants don't kill 100% of the bacterial population is because bacteria are incredibly adaptive and develop resistances to a myriad of potential threats. This also provides the reason why it isn't sensible to take antibiotics for every bacterial infection, as highly resistant bacteria can easily take over the body thanks to the sudden lack of competition for resources. The third thing to note about the claim is that the effectiveness of these products depends heavily on how they are used. Disinfectants, soaps, and sanitizers often require specific criteria to work properly. These criteria are contact time, concentration, and surface conditions. In terms of contact time, the surface must remain wet with the disinfectant for a certain period, such as a few minutes, for it to kill most of the bacteria. Moreover, many household disinfectants need to be used at a specific concentration. Diluting them too much can render them ineffective, while using too much could be wasteful or even hazardous. Lastly, disinfectants are less effective on dirty or greasy surfaces because the dirt can protect bacteria and viruses. That's why cleaning before disinfecting is a vital step in proper hygiene. For something as potent as Grimer sludge, this means intervention will need to involve not only powerful disinfectants, but also proper techniques. Cleaning the sludge would require removing the visible filth first and ensuring that disinfectants are applied thoroughly and left long enough to work. Skipping any step could allow dangerous pathogens to remain and spread. How about viruses, which all these disinfectants may not effectively kill? As mentioned earlier, viruses struggle to survive without living cells. Unlike bacteria, which can thrive on a damp surface or in grimy sludge, viruses need a host to replicate. However, this doesn't mean they're harmless. Many viruses, like norovirus or rotavirus, are incredibly hardy and can survive on surfaces for days. This is why physical cleaning, followed by thorough disinfection, remains the best way to remove both bacteria and viruses. In other words, just squirting soap on your hands and allowing water to flow over them will do close to nothing, except to maybe remove any visible dirt or grime on your hands. Rubbing your hands vigorously can dislodge pathogens and cause them to be washed away. This affords me the opportunity to point out that antibacterial hand washes and soaps may be ineffective at best and counterproductive at worst. There is a growing body of evidence to suggest that antibacterial soap is just as effective as normal soap. Antibacterial soap normally contains traces of triclosan, which is a chemical designed to interrupt the growth of bacteria that can even be found in toothpastes and mouthwash. Another reason you shouldn't swallow these products. Viruses have long been misunderstood as purely harmful entities. However, their true nature is far more complex and multifaceted. At their core, viruses are tiny intracellular parasites with nucleic acids capable of directing their replication inside a host, but unable to survive independently. They are not cells and have no intrinsic metabolism, which makes them unique in the biological world. Surprisingly, many viruses benefit their hosts under certain conditions. Some can protect their hosts by killing competitors or enhancing resilience. For instance, some plant viruses confer drought or cold tolerance, enabling survival in extreme conditions. Others, over evolutionary timescales, have merged with host genomes, becoming essential to their host's survival. Retroviruses, for example, played a pivotal role in the evolution of the placenta in mammals. Others still modulate host immunity, protecting against bacterial infections or more harmful viruses. For example, some latent herpes viruses in mice offer protection against foodborne pathogens. Even in the Pokemon world, the idea of beneficial viruses is represented by Pokerus, a virus that doubles a Pokemon's growth potential without any negative side effects. However, I'll end there on viruses and transition into what we can do on a personal level to support overall health. There are a vast number of things we can do to support our overall health, and I certainly won't describe all of them. What I want to do here is talk about a few ways that you can reduce the likelihood of catching a disease from any kind of pathogen. It just so happens that keeping your body healthy automatically reduces your ability to catch an infection. I already mentioned that there are more bacteria inside you than body cells. As a result of this, any foreign microorganism will find it very difficult to survive, as there would be so much competition for resources. Also, some of the bacteria even adapt to consume invading bacteria. With that, let's conclude this episode on hygiene with ways you can live a life of better personal hygiene and overall health. Some of the following practices you will doubtlessly already know and may find obvious, but it is for good measure that I mention them anyway. Also, the adage that applies here is that common sense is not common knowledge. Hand washing is the most effective way to stay with diseases and is as essential as eating food. Pathogens can spread rapidly through touch, food, water, or contaminated surfaces, but basic hygiene practices serve as powerful deterrents. Washing hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds removes harmful microbes picked up from surfaces, people, or other animals. This simple practice drastically reduces the risk of infections like colds, flu, and foodborne illnesses. Why 20 seconds? The US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention suggests this, as this is about the length of time required to adequately dislodge and deactivate or destroy germs that are on the hands. This obviously requires you to scrub every part of your hand, including under your fingernails and between your fingers. Scrubbing under your fingernails is difficult if you have long nails, which is why another hygienic practice is to frequently trim your nails. Did you know that there may be more pathogens under your nails than there are on your toilet? Will you trim your nails now and stop biting them? I'm actually talking to myself here, as I tend to let my nails grow long before cutting them. It's not just our hands that we need to wash well. Properly washing, cooking, and storing food prevents the growth and transmission of harmful bacteria such as Salmonella and E. coli, which are found in meats and fish. It is a good idea to separate raw foods from cooked foods, as the pathogens that were killed via cooking may be reintroduced from the raw foods. It is clearly a good idea to handle raw meats and fish extremely carefully, as they tend to carry the most deadly pathogens. Also, maintaining clean cooking areas and refrigerating perishables promptly will help reduce the likelihood of pathogens multiplying on kitchen surfaces and in foods. You may wonder if it's harmful to eat food with visible signs of mold. Recall that mold is a pathogen. Now, you may see only a little mold on the corner of a piece of bread and think to yourself that you may be fine if you eat the other side of the bread. Indeed, you may be, provided you are healthy and have a properly functioning immune system. However, if you can see mold on bread, it is likely the entire piece of bread is contaminated, and most of the contamination is invisible. Moreover, if that piece was in a pack and was touching other slices of bread, but those slices don't have visible signs of mold, they may nevertheless be infected. This is because it is easy for mold to move through the structure of bread, as there are plenty of pores which allow oxygen to pass through. However, it is more difficult for decay to spread in something like a carrot because it's denser and doesn't have an aerated structure. In terms of strengthening the immune system, there are a number of powerful protocols to adopt, from food to sleep to even stress management. Since I've mentioned them, let me just talk about food, i.e., nutrition, sleep, and stress management. A nutrient-dense diet fuels the immunity in many ways. Foods rich in vitamins A, C, D, and E, as well as minerals like zinc and selenium, enhance the immune response. Citrus fruits, leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and lean proteins are excellent choices. Shall I go into details? Obviously, I'm talking to myself here. If you don't want the details, you can just skip this section. Vitamin A is vital for maintaining the integrity of your skin and mucous membranes, which act as the first line of defense against pathogens. It also supports the production of white blood cells, particularly those that fight infections. Sources include orange and yellow vegetables like carrots, sweet potatoes, and pumpkin, as well as dark leafy greens like spinach. Animal sources such as eggs, liver, and fortified dairy can also be great sources. Vitamin C enhances the production of white blood cells, supports skin health, and protects against oxidative stress. It's also water soluble, so daily intake is essential since the body doesn't store it. Sources include citrus fruits like oranges, lemons, and grapefruits. But bell peppers, kiwi, strawberry, and broccoli also contain vitamin C. Vitamin D regulates immune cell activity, including T cells, which are critical in fighting infections. Low levels of vitamin D are linked to increased susceptibility to illness. Particularly rich sources include fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines. Egg yolks, fortified milk, and fortified cereals provide smaller amounts. However, sunlight can be a powerful natural generator of vitamin D in the body, and can even be enough in some cases for people who eat a balanced diet and get enough exposure to sunlight at specific times of the day. Vitamin E is an antioxidant that protects cells from damage and supports the production of natural killer cells, which destroy infected or cancerous cells. Vitamin E is found in nuts and seeds like almonds, sunflower seeds, and hazelnuts, as well as in vegetable oils like sunflower oil and safflower oil. Spinach and avocados also provide small amounts of vitamin E. Now, onto the minerals. Zinc is crucial for immune cell function and helps wounds heal faster. It's also essential for the development and activation of T cells and other immune cells. Zinc is easily found in lean meats, shellfish, especially oysters, nuts, seeds, and legumes like chickpeas and lentils. Smaller amounts are present in whole grains like wheat, spelt, and rye. Finally, selenium helps lower inflammation and boosts antioxidant defenses, enhancing the body's ability to fight off infections. Brazil nuts are perhaps the best source of selenium, with one nut providing your daily needs. Other sources include fish such as tuna, eggs, and sunflower seeds. So I want you to consider this meal plan to optimize your immune health. For breakfast, you can make a smoothie with spinach, a handful of carrots, and a banana, maybe two, and some mixed nuts. Please forgive me for this side note, but I cannot express how potent dark leafy green vegetables are on not just immune health, but on gut health, brain health, heart health, and emotional health as well. It is no surprise, although I don't particularly recommend it due to the sheer lack of variety, people go on diets where they're subsisting mainly on dark leafy vegetables. Dark leafy vegetables have by far the greatest number of micronutrients, and there is a plethora of studies showcasing the wonderful effects of these micronutrients on human health. Now, you could call it a day here if you wanted to reap the rewards of fasting to improve immune health, but I won't go into it here since it will stray too far away from the topic of hygiene. So, for lunch, you can have a salad with mixed greens, grilled chicken or lentils, and a drizzle of sunflower oil, accompanied by a piece of fruit like a kiwi. If a salad doesn't sound appealing to you, I encourage you to return to the list of foods I presented earlier and mix and match your favorites to create a meal that excites you. For dinner, try grilled salmon with roasted sweet potatoes and steamed broccoli. Again, feel free to tweak these and discover other foods that are rich in, for example, vitamin E, if you didn't enjoy any of the sources I listed. What you will find with this meal plan also is that it is rich in fiber, which is vital for gut health as fiber is what the best bacteria living in us thrive on. Anyway, let's move away from food hygiene to talk about sleep hygiene. Well, food hygiene might not be the correct term. I'm not sure why we call it sleep hygiene. It's not like I'm going to ask you to start sanitizing your beds or taking a shower before sleeping, although those could certainly be good things to do. Instead, sleep hygiene is about the habits and practices that help you get quality sleep. It's the collection of routines, environmental factors, and lifestyle choices that influence how well you sleep and ultimately how well you feel during the day. In short, sleep hygiene refers to the way we set ourselves up for restorative rest each night. The reason sleep hygiene is so important is that it helps regulate your body's internal clock, your circadian rhythm, ensuring you fall asleep and wake up consistently every day. Good sleep hygiene improves the quality of your sleep, which is significantly more important than the number of hours of sleep you get. While the average person needs 7 to 9 hours of sleep, it won't do you any good if you spend a large portion of those hours tossing and turning. Alongside nutrition, sleep is essential for your immune system, mental clarity, mood, and overall health. Poor sleep hygiene can lead to trouble falling asleep, waking up multiple times during the night, or simply waking up feeling unrefreshed. No one wants that, especially when our modern busy lives make it hard enough to get a good night's sleep in the first place. So let's talk about how you can improve your sleep hygiene. The first thing to think about is your sleep environment. Your surroundings can make all the difference in how well you sleep. The ideal sleep temperature is between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. Keeping the room cool helps your body cool down naturally, signaling that it's time to rest. Lighting is another factor. Exposure to bright, especially blue, light in the evening can disrupt the production of the hormone that helps you fall asleep, melatonin. To optimize your sleep, make your room as dark as possible or consider using a sleep mask like I sometimes do. If you have to use light in the evening, make sure it's dim and warm rather than bright and blue. You can use apps like f.lux to do this, or change the settings directly in your mobile device. Noise can also interfere with sleep. If you live in a noisy area, consider using earplugs or a white noise machine to block out distractions. Once I tried playing white noise on my AirPods Pro in noise cancellation mode, and I would like to say it worked, but you really have to try it out yourself if you can, or use a different strategy to reduce noise in your room. Last but not least is comfort. Make sure your mattress and pillows are supportive, and that your bedding suits your preferred sleeping position. It's surprising how much of a difference this can make. Next, let's talk about establishing consistent sleep routines. Just as you have a morning routine to start your day, having a pre-sleep routine signals to your brain that it's time to wind down. Going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, even on weekends, helps to regulate your body's internal clock. This consistency makes it easier to fall asleep and wake up naturally. A pre-sleep ritual like reading a book or listening to calming music can help you relax. Try to avoid stimulating activities like checking your phone or watching TV at least an hour before bed. These activities can signal to your brain that it's time to be awake, making it harder to sleep when you need to. If you nap during the day, try to keep it to around 20 to 30 minutes. Longer naps can interfere with your ability to fall asleep at night. Now let's talk about what to avoid when it comes to sleep hygiene. Some habits can disrupt your sleep cycle. Caffeine, for example, is a well-known sleep disruptor. It can take 10 hours for the effects of caffeine to wear off, so try to avoid it after lunch. Alcohol, while it might make you feel sleepy initially, actually disrupts the deeper stages of sleep, so it's best to limit your intake, especially in the evening. Again, because it is off topic, I won't go into details here, but there are several phases of sleep, and the deepest part of it is critical to maintain the normal functioning of practically every single organ in the body. Eating large meals before bed can also cause discomfort and indigestion, making it harder to sleep. Try to finish eating heavy meals at least 2 to 3 hours before going to bed. Finally, screen time. Most of us, myself included, are guilty of scrolling through our phones or watching TV right before bed. The blue light emitted from screens interferes with melatonin production and tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime. Set a screen curfew at least an hour before bed to help your body wind down naturally. Let's round out this series of protocols with a brief discussion on stress management. Luckily, food, sleep, and stress are interlinked, so eating well will contribute to better sleep quality, which will contribute to less stress. When it comes to stress management, it's essential to recognize that chronic stress can affect both your mental and physical health. Over time, stress can weaken your immune system, disrupt your sleep patterns, and lead to unhealthy eating habits. Let me preface by saying that some stress is good and necessary, and even important for CEOs, athletes, and other high performing individuals who have a lot of expectations to meet. A great starting point for managing stress is through mindfulness practices. Meditation, deep breathing exercises, and yoga can help you stay grounded and calm in the face of daily pressures. Even just a few minutes of focused breathing can reduce your heart rate and bring your body out of its fight or flight state. Perhaps the best way to achieve this, which can be done in seconds, is by using what Daniel Huberman calls the physiological sigh. This is 2 inhales through the nose in quick succession, followed by an extended exhale through the mouth. Incorporating these practices into your daily routine, perhaps in the morning or before bed, can set a positive tone for the day or help wind down after a busy one. Exercise also plays a key role in reducing stress. Physical activity increases the production of endorphins, the body's natural mood boosters. A brisk walk, a quick workout, or even some light stretching can relieve tension and improve your overall sense of well-being. Aim for at least 30 minutes of moderate exercise most days, but even a short burst of movement can make a difference. Note that while exercise is also a powerful contributor to sleep quality, strenuous activity should not be carried out within your final hour before sleeping, because the heat the body generates from the activity can interfere with the ability of the body to enter sleep mode properly. Another essential aspect of stress management is maintaining strong social connections. Whether it's talking with friends or spending time with loved ones, having a support network can provide comfort and perspective, helping you cope with life challenges. Regular social interaction has been shown to lower stress levels and even improve immune function, so don't be afraid to reach out to others when you need to recharge. Lastly, don't forget the power of time management. Feeling overwhelmed by a busy schedule is a common stress trigger, but organizing your time can reduce anxiety and make tasks feel more manageable. Break down larger tasks into smaller, more achievable steps and give yourself permission to take breaks. Being kind to yourself during hectic times is key to reducing stress. By combining these strategies with healthy eating and sleep hygiene, you can build a strong foundation for long-term stress management. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate stress completely, but to create a lifestyle that allows you to cope with it effectively, leading to better physical and mental health. I'm delighted I could share all this with you, as good hygiene is something we can all easily do, and the rewards can be huge. If you've come this far into the episode, please consider liking this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. This will help me tremendously and cost nothing but a few moments of your time. We started with Grimer's toxic sludge and how it mirrors real-world pathogens. From there, we briefly moved into the world of microorganisms, and we learned that not all microorganisms are bad. Some, like beneficial bacteria and even the Poke A Mon and Pokemon, can support health and growth. We then discussed the crucial role of nutrition, sleep hygiene, and stress management in building a healthy lifestyle. Hygiene practices like hand washing and safe food handling form the first line of defense against pathogens. A balanced diet rich in immune-boosting nutrients like vitamins A, C, D, and E, along with minerals like zinc and selenium, keeps your immune system strong and resilient. We highlighted how good sleep hygiene restores body and mind, while stress management ties it all together. You can find the resources I consulted while researching for this episode in the show notes. Isn't the power of science simply amazing?